Okay, so page 44, add and subtract rational expressions. So just like multiplying and divide, right? We use our um, normal fraction to understand how to do it, how to do reduce. Same with add and subtract. We'll first look at how we add two fractions. Okay, so let's ask Aaron, how do you add two fractions like this one? Aaron, how do you add two fractions?
You find the common denominator.
Okay, for this one, what's the common denominator?
14.
14, very good, okay. I'll write it down. Denominator is 14. 14 comes from 7 times 2, right? So we can write the whole fraction together now because they are common denominators. I've just put 14, right? So we compare the 7 with the 14, right? And then 7 needs to times 2, right? So the top also needs to times 2, so 5 times 2. The adding, you keep it in the middle, right? And then you compare the 2 with the 14. 2 needs to times 7, so the top times 7, right? That's the way we used to do for adding or subtracting fraction with just numbers. So same thing with variables, right? With rational expression, we're gonna do the same thing. So of course, after this, you can simplify, you get 10 plus 7 over 14, right? So 17 over 14. But if it's a rational expression, you just simplify as far as you can. You won't get to a single thing on the top, okay? So the key step is to get the common denominator and then combine the fractions together, okay? So basically you follow these two. So we'll try this one. This one I'm using the same denominator here. So this part is called a type 1. Type 1 is saying it's constant denominator. Constant means there's no variable, right? So on this page, all the denominator has only numbers, right? 2 and 7, 6, 2 and 3, right? Okay, if you look at type 2, you have variable denominator. Okay, so sometimes you get variables, right? How do we get common denominator? So we'll look at that as similar idea, right? So we'll start with this one. Common denominator, of course, is again. Okay. Okay, but this time the top has variable, right? So be careful. And another thing to watch out for is the subtraction sign. So to avoid sign problem, okay, so pay attention on how I proceed with this one. So we know it's 14. So I put 14, right? So the 2 will need to times 7, right? Just like the last question. So I will put 7 on the outside first, right? And then there's a subtraction, right? Now for the second fraction, it needs to times it by 2. So I'll put a 2 and then 3n plus 4. Okay, so we know to simplify the numerator, right? So we got our first step, right? Common denominator, first step to write out combine the two fractions. Now we need to simplify the numerator. So we can expand the top, right? So Colin, how do we expand the top?
You just multiply it, you simplify it first.
Yeah, so for example, the first bracket, it becomes
14m plus 21.
40m plus 21, okay? And for the second bracket?
6m or negative 6m minus 8.
Yeah, negative 6m minus m. So the key part you need to watch out is the minus. It will go in. It makes it minus 8. Okay, so the common mistake that I see keeps happening every year is if you skip step 1, okay, and then you go straight to here to expansion. Okay, let's say your first line, instead of writing out the brackets, you went straight to multiplying right away. You might get something like this. You know it needs to times 7, right? So you did the multiplying in the head, you get 14 plus 14m plus 21. And then you know the second one needs to times it by 2. So you write down minus 6m plus 8. Okay, so this will be the mistake I see a lot, okay? Even though I keep mentioning every time, but you guys like to skip a step, right? Try to finish as soon as possible. So skipping writing out the brackets, sometimes you will forget that the negative needs to go in, okay? So remember this one, okay? So if you write out the brackets, it's easier to avoid this mistake to bring in the negative. So now you just combine like terms. Okay, so you get 8m and what's this? Plus what? 13, right? Over 14. And then you double check, right? Because the question wants us to simplify, add and subtract, and then simplify it. So you want to see if there's anything you can factor. So what you learned before also applies here, okay? So 8m plus 13, nothing to factor. So we cannot cancel anything out, okay? To cancel things out, you need to factor it, see if any same factors in the numerator and denominator that you can reduce. And then next thing, because the denominator only has constants, right? No variables, so there's no restrictions for this page. Okay? Any questions so far for this one? So you're gonna try one more together, okay? And then I'll let you figure out B, C, D on your own. So let's look at question 5A. Okay, so what's the common denominator for this one? Nathan?
6.
6, very good. Okay, I'm glad you did not multiply all the numbers together. Yeah, good choice. Okay, keep the number small if possible. So I can make everything together and then put it all over 6. Right, so I'll let you guys write it out with brackets, okay, before multiplying out. So as you can see, there's the adding, there's subtracting, okay? You need to have something adding, something subtracting. So when you finish the first line, please raise your hand. Okay, Eric, do you have any questions?
Would I multiply them all separately? So the first one would be multiplied by 1, the second one would be by 3, and the last one by 2.
Yeah, but we don't multiply yet. Just write it outside the brackets.
Okay, I'll do that real quick.
Yeah. So to avoid a mistake, okay, I would suggest you to keep it outside the bracket, okay, and then when you multiply in, so that you won't forget to bring in the negative. Okay, Brendan, can you tell us what's on the numerator?
Like when after I like
No
my,
expanding. Yeah.
so no expanding it.
Yeah, no expanding. Just
4t minus 5 plus
Yeah.
3 times 3t plus 2
Mm-hmm.
minus 2 times 2t plus 1.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so when you are multiplying, Remember the -2, it's the -2 that goes in, okay? It's not just the 2 that multiply in. If it's positive, it doesn't matter, okay? It's you won't make a mistake for sure, okay? It's the negative, it's the subtraction that I'm worried about, okay? So now please finish the question. After expanding, collect all the like terms, okay? Raise your hand, okay, when you got the final answer. Please raise your hand when you have finished question A. Okay, Nathan, what do you have?
I have 9t over 6.
90 over, oh, so there's nothing at all at behind, just 90 over 6, like that?
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me what you did when you're expanding?
You just
What's
move,
on the numerator?
you put you put 3 times 3 and then 3 times 2 and then -2 times 2t and then -2 times.
Yeah, so
Oh,
tell me what to write on the numerator.
I did it wrong. Well, yeah.
Okay, it's okay, you tell me now, okay? So what do I need to write on?
4t take away 5
Yeah,
plus 9t plus 6
okay,
and then take away 4t
yeah,
and it's supposed to be take away 2.
yeah, take away 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so very good. So try, check again, okay? Let me know if you get different answer. Eric, do you have any trouble? So you done? Okay. Yeah, Nathan?
9t take away 1 over 6.
90 take away 1 over 6. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, so over here you have 40, 40 canceled out. That will be 6 minutes. Yeah, okay, looks good. Now, another mistake I sometimes see is you see a 90 minus 1 over 6, and then you say, okay, I like canceling, makes me feel better. And I start to reduce. Let's say, oh, I can reduce these two. Write down 2, right? Divide by 3, and then your final answer will be 3t minus 1 over 2. So this one we cannot do, okay? Because remember, you can only do reduce if they are parts. And parts are separated by multiplying. So if you have this part and this part, right? They are the same, then you can cancel out because in between it's only multiplying. Right on the top, right? 2 brackets that are multiplying. But for this one, the 90 minus 1, there's a minus here. Okay, so this 90, even though this is multiplying here, right? 9 times t, but then the 90 is stuck with minus 1, right? Because there's subtraction. Only when, okay, it got crashed, okay? Give me 1 sec. You cannot see the screen now, okay? I will restart the program again. Okay, so back to here. So only when the everything is connected by multiplying, then you can do the canceling. So for example, if you see, let's say if it's 9, okay. Oh, it keeps crashing. Oh. Okay, so if you end up with something like this, 90 times -1, right? Instead of subtract -1, then you can see that everything's multiplying, right? 9 times t times -1. Then these are all parts, okay? Then the, sorry, not over 2 over 6, right? So if that's the case, then you can do the reduce, okay? Because reducing is good, right? But you have to reduce for the right expression, right? So reducing doesn't mean it will make it better, okay? If you reduced it at the wrong time, right, then it's making it worse. So this one, because there's a subtraction, so 90 is together with -1 as one part, okay? So your answer, you have to leave it at this, okay? 90 minus 1 over 6. Okay. Okay, so if no question about question A, right? Everyone understand question A? Just watch out for the sign. That's the only thing I worry about. Otherwise, type 1 should be pretty easy. So I'll let you guys do B, C, D, okay, by yourself. And then we'll go over when you all finish B, C, D, okay? You can raise your hand when you're done. For C, there's a 2 on the outside, right? So what you could do is you can expand it in, multiply in first, right? So then it looks like other questions, okay? Before you start to get the common denominator and stuff. And we see it's just a constant. Let's say this one has a 2. 2 is the same as something over something. So think about that. How do you write 2 as a fraction? Okay? So just little hints to get you started. So you can finish B, C, D, and we'll discuss it again, okay? Raise your hand when you're done.
Jason.
Let me know if you have any question in the steps. So everything here, there's no restrictions, okay? Just for this page. Starting from next page, we'll have restrictions again.
Jason.
Yeah.
For B, would you put it's the common? Would you put like 5x minus 1, and then because it's supposed to like I don't know, like go like cross multiply the thing? Would you put it 5x minus 1 like times 1? Because 1 is basically 1 over 1.
Okay, what is the common denominator for this one?
30.
30, yeah. So if for the first fraction, to make the denominator become 30, it needs to multiply by what?
6.
Yeah, so the top needs to times it by 6.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
and then for the second one, this is a 1, right?
Yeah,
1 is the same as what over what?
1/1.
Yeah, so you write it as a fraction, and then you change
Oh,
the denominator. Okay,
okay.
so
Thank
your
you.
first step should look like something over 30. Okay,
Okay, thank you, Jason.
yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so here are all the different answers. We'll start with question B. Okay, so the first fraction needs to times 6, right? So we'll write down 6, 5x minus 1. The 1, you can think of it as 1/1, right? So if you want to change denominator to 30, you need to times it by 30, right? And then minus needs to times it by 5. Okay, so that should be your first line, so that when you are expanding, you know the -5 should be the number that going in instead of just 5. That's the only purpose of writing out the brackets. Okay, so remember to include negative. And then 30x minus 6 plus 30, right, minus 20x plus 15 over 30. Okay, please check this. And then that will be what? Any mistake? So that will be 10x, right? And then that's 24, 39, yeah, okay. So this one is okay. Any question for question B? That one's good. We'll look at C. So I'd like you to tell me what you did, okay? So what's the common denominator for this one, Brennan?
12.
12, yeah, so write 12. And then after you multiply, after you write out the brackets, what will be on the numerator? Colin, can you tell us what you have on the numerator? Before expanding.
3 bracket 2x minus 6
Mm-hmm.
minus 4 bracket x minus 1 plus 20,
Plus
24.
24. Okay, thank you. Anyone has question about this so far? Okay, so after this will be very straightforward. Okay, you just expand everything. So 6x minus 18 minus 4x. Remember, it's negative 4 that goes in. So it should be plus 4. Okay, plus 24. Okay, so let's see which one is the one. Okay, 6x minus 4x, that will give you 2x. And then that will be 28 minus 18, so 20. Okay, oh, 10. Yeah, 28 minus 18, 10, right? Over 12. So looks like we got this one, right? So we know the top has to be adding. So this one for sure won't be the answer, right? But then you can see that the numerator, right, we can factor. So whenever possible to factor, always factor it. We're gonna take out GCF. So now you can see that there's a multiplying, right? 2 multiplied by x plus 5, so there are 2 parts. Parts and parts can reduce each other, okay? So 2 is okay to cancel out with the 12. So makes it 1 and 6. So that makes this one the final answer, okay? So 2x plus 10 over 12, if the question is out of 5, right? Then you get 4 out of 5 because you're missing the last step, okay? So to get a perfect mark, remember to check again, okay, at the end. Okay, question D. Common denominator is 6, okay? This one is simply 6. So I'd like to know what to put on the numerator this time. Eric, can you tell us what's on the numerator?
I have 6x minus 3 times x plus 2 minus 2 times 3 minus x plus 6.
Okay, plus 6. Very good. And Nathan, can you take over? What's your next step here?
6x minus 3x take away 6 plus 2x plus 6.
Good. Yeah, all over 6. So let's see. This minus 6 and 6 cancel out, right? And then so you have minus 6, 3 plus 2. Yeah, okay. So ends up with this one. Okay. So with a constant in the denominator is not too bad, right? Everyone's good? Okay, no questions? All right, so we'll look at the type 2 now. Let's see if the denominator now has variable. How are we going to get the common denominator? Okay, so you can see that this question has so many variables. If you think about what we did before, right? To get common denominator, sometimes we just multiply, right? 7 times 2 is 14. That's a common denominator. But sometimes if you just multiply everything too big, right? If you look at question 5a, the common denominator, I remember Nathan say this one is 6, right? So if we multiply 6 times 2 times 3, that's 36, right? It still works, but that's not the lowest common denominator we want. Because if you don't get the lowest, that means there's more work for you to do later, right? You still need to reduce at the end, right? So just creates more work. So we want to get the least common denominator. So what you can do, right? We'll use this one to help us understand how to do variable ones. The 6, you can factor it, right? Into 3 times 2, right? So that's why it if you use 6, it already includes the 3 and the 2. So I don't need to multiply the 3 and the 2 again. Okay, so you just need to find denominator that includes just big enough to include every denominator. We want the lowest possible. Okay, so keep that idea in mind. Let's look at here. So common denominator, right? We start with 2 and 4. Right, so Yoshi, what's a common denominator for 2 and 4?
4.
4, right? We just need 4 because 4 already has 2 inside, right? 4 is made up of 2 times 2. And then we look at the letters. We start with the m. We have m squared, we have m squared, we have m. What is the common denominator for this one, Colin?
M.
M? Well, inside the m, do you see m squared? Colin, do you know what I mean? Sorry, I cannot hear you. You gotta speak closer to your mic.
No.
No, okay. So what should we use to include m squared and n?
M square.
Yeah, so we need to use at least m squared. Think about this, okay? M squared is made up of m times m. Just like you have 3 times 3, so as one denominator, right? And then the other one is 3, right? Just like m, and the other one is m. So if you have 3 and 3, which is a 9, the other one is a 3, common denominator, you won't use 3, right? That would be too small. So we'll use the one that's bigger. So the common denominator will be the 9. Okay, so it's the same idea, right? Because inside the 9, I will have 3, right? It includes 3. So I don't need to multiply 9 and 3 together, right? I just need to use the 9, which is just big enough, okay, to include both. So inside the common denominator, you should be able to see all the denominator. Okay, so let's look at the n then. Okay, what will be the common denominator for the n? So n here, we have n here, n cubed, and another n. What's a common denominator, Nathan?
N3.
Yeah, n3, okay, n cubed. So now if you look at this denominator that we got, inside there, I can have 2m squared n, right? I can take it out, right? It's big enough to cover every single denominator, right? For the second fraction, I have m squared n cubed. Common denominator also has that, right? For the third one has m and n, right? Inside I can also see m and n. Okay, so that's how you choose the common denominator. You don't want to multiply everything together. If you multiply everything together, it looks like 8, right? And then m what? M5, right? And then n5. It's still a common denominator, but it's not lowest. So later you will need to factor and reduce, right? More work later. Okay, so learn how to get the lowest. So let's draw the long line now, right? So put 4m squared n cubed. So just like when we are doing constant, we now compare. Okay, so the first denominator compare with the new denominator. What do we need to multiply to make it the same? Brennan?
For the first one,
Yeah, for the first
you
denominator,
multiply by 2n squared.
2n squared. Very good. Okay, so we'll just write 3 times it by 2n squared. Okay, so you can see that I'm still not multiplying it. I'm keeping it in brackets. Okay, now for the second denominator. Second one. What do we need to multiply to make it the same, Sarah?
For the second one,
Yeah, for the second one.
negative.
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Negative.
Actually, just 4. Okay, the negative is the subtraction, so you just have a 4 there. Okay, denominator need to times the 4, so the top is 4 on the outside, and then 2n squared minus 1. Okay, of course when you expand, it will be negative 4 go in. Okay, that's because there's a minus. Okay, now for the third fraction. What do we need to multiply to make the denominator the same? Nathan?
mn squared.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so this one is adding, right? So nothing to worry about. So mn squared. Okay. So sometimes I write the thing you need to multiply at the front, sometimes I write at the back. The rule is to we keep the constant at the front. Okay, so you can see 5 is at the front, right? 4 is at the front, 3 at the front. So after that, you just multiply it out. Okay, so you get 6n squared minus 8n squared plus. Okay, watch out, this turns to plus 5n squared. Okay, because there's no expansion for the third one, over 4m squared and cubed. Okay, and then we want to see if there's anything we can combine together, right? I think the first two, right, 6n squared, they are like terms. So negative 2n squared, right? 6 minus 8. Okay, and then over 4n squared and cubed. Okay, and then you look at this, right? I hope you're clear on whether we can cancel or not. Okay, see n squared there, and then oh, I see an n squared there. Can I cancel that? Eric, can I cancel those n squares?
No,
No, right? Why not?
because it's addition and it's not multiplication, so they're part of one. So you have to cancel out n squared from all of them.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so negative 2n squared is connected with plus 4, right? There's an adding, so that means everything on the top, this is one thing. They are all connected, okay? So you cannot break it apart, try to cancel it, right? So this will be your final look. Now, when you try to get a restriction, okay, because we get denominator this time, right? So variable, right, you look at the yellow highlighted, that's where you find restrictions. So we have parts, right? The 4, okay, I'll use the green. The 4, the m, the n. 4 is never gonna be 0, so no restriction for 4. So the only restrictions come from m. So m cannot be 0, n cannot be 0. So those are the two restrictions. So your final answer is this one. Okay, we spent a lot of time doing this question, okay, because this is the first one, right? First one has the variable. So I'll let you try questions before we take a break, okay? 6a is easier, less letters in the denominator. 6a. Okay, do not do the other ones yet. So please raise your hand when you finish 6a. Okay, if anyone has question, you can let me know. Let's double check on the common denominator first. Okay, Colin, what's the common denominator for 6a?
MN.
Yep, very good. Okay, so make sure you get common denominator correct first. Okay, raise your hand when you finish. Okay, we have 5 people finished now. Your first line, right, should look something like that, and you put MN at the bottom. So remember to check if you can simplify at the end. Okay, please raise your hand when you finished. Eric, are you done?
I'm almost done.
Okay, let me know when you're done. All right, so Eric, can you tell us what to put on the numerator?
I have 3m plus 4 minus n minus 2,
Okay, 3m plus 4 minus n, and then?
and then minus 2mn.
Minus 2mn. Okay, and
Yeah.
Colin, anything to do after that?
I didn't do anything.
Okay, there's no like term here, right? Yeah, nothing to combine.
Oh, I wrote
Hmm?
the restriction.
Restriction, good, very good. So what should be the restriction?
M and N cannot equal 0.
Yeah, okay, so there are 2 parts in the denominator. So you just have m and n. Parts are separated by multiplying. So you get 2 restrictions here. Okay, does anyone have different answers? Okay, can you raise your hand again if you get the same? All right, so let's have a break now. Okay, so I'll see you guys back here at 11:15. And if you have questions, you can stay during the break. Okay, see you soon.